So, Michael, thank you for having me here
It's
in your home.
great to have you here, man. This is awesome.
We've got a very special guest with us today, Michael. We've got Larry Nichols joining us from Arkansas. Larry, how you doing?
Hey, I'm here. How are y'all?
I'm
Well,
well.
I'm doing good, Larry. Honored to be talking with you on this show. This is great.
Absolutely. Now, Larry, this
Yeah.
is maybe your first foray into the discussion of targeted individuals, although I must say, I don't really know. Is this a topic that you've gotten into very much in the past? Larry? I think we lost Larry.
Yes, I was trying to get off there. Sorry about that. When I pushed the mute, it's hard to get off.
No problem.
I, I have not had anything as incredible as what is going on with Michael, but I have seen it as a form of intimidation, and I've seen it where typically it's done to set somebody up so that you establish firm, solid patterns so you can develop a protocol to eliminate a problem.
I see. And when you say, Larry, establish a firm pattern for a protocol to, what do you mean by that? Because a lot of the work that you've done in the intelligence and sort of, not intelligence world, let me not misstate this. The operations that you've engaged in have been kind of like old school, and what Michael is experiencing is people with cell phones and people interrupting things with Wi-Fi and microwave weapons, or these are all topics that we've explored with Dr. Catherine Horton. What type of intimidation and things like that did you see in your day?
Well, just basically, it's a following. You start out with a subtle following, and then you start moving to being identified following. And then the whole purpose of that is to make sure that if the person gets nervous or something comes up, you want to know what his or her reaction will be. So it's just a series of intimidation and harassment, Jason, and in the real, honest to goodness, secret world of, I guess you'd call it black ops, is what it's been called.
Yeah.
In the world of the black ops, there are occasions where I have heard, it has not happened to me, I have not seen it myself firsthand, but I have heard that, periodically people end up knowing so much that you can't make somebody unknow what they know. So at some point, somebody that's been on a lot of critical operations that could have, if ever exposed, could have devastating
Blowback.
results. Yeah, yes. So, yeah, that's what they do. They follow, tag, and then eventually, when everything's right, when it's perfect for the day of the year, when it's perfect for the week of the year, when it's perfect for both of those, but at the same time, it's the perfect time on the news networks. So it's, yeah, I mean, it's crazy, but it's what's done.
Right. Now, Larry, I've come down to Phoenix, Arizona to be with Michael for his court hearing and to do a couple of shows here, talk some more about the targeting programs and all of the information that he's been bringing forward. I've also been speaking to Dr. Catherine Horton, and I've just sort of landed in this world of targeted individuals. I didn't know anything about it before I met Michael, and I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but when we were on the phone, and you were telling me how dejected you were feeling, how you really felt like you were going to take this plea deal and just be a felon, admit to a crime that you didn't do, you revealed to me that when you were a child, your father worked for Lockheed Martin. I did not know that before you told me that. And I found it interesting because, Larry, you're familiar, of course, with John Benet Ramsey, I think she was a 6 or 7 year old girl who was murdered in Boulder, Colorado in the late 80s or early 90s. You're familiar with that case, right, Larry?
Yes. Yes, I heard about it. I mean, I wasn't involved anyway, but yes, it was pretty much national news everywhere in its day.
Right. The thing that I found so interesting about Michael's case, when he told me that his father had worked for Lockheed Martin, is that John Benet Ramsey's father also worked for Lockheed Martin. And Bill Binney has told me that Lockheed Martin is a major contractor to the NSA and handles a lot of the cybersecurity work, and basically spy work is outsourced to these companies.
Right. Well, they have been a major military industrial complex
And
participant.
now, something we've figured out about Lockheed Martin is they have a company that they are operating underneath them called William Patrick Cox. Now, that's the guy's name, but this company is it's an undefined business in 46 states here in the United States. And what it looks like is that is who is responsible for this gang stalking program through Lockheed Martin. There's some other people obviously involved too, but I just spoke with Karen Melton Stewart, who worked for the NSA for 28 years, and through the targeted individual community, have kind of come up with, that's where I got that information from Karen about this William Patrick Cox. And you look it up, you do the research. Yep, they're right there. They're there working under Lockheed Martin.
Huh.
And
so William Patrick Cox is a company.
yes, and it just says undefined business.
Where does it say that?
When you look,
Private Detective Report. Lockheed Martin also has operational control over U.S. government. Know for a fact the number one dirty guy is William Patrick Cox.
that's actually Karen Melton Stewart's article, I believe she wrote.
I see.
Yep.
Oh, yes, I see her name right there. So let me put that up so Larry can see that. So this is a private detective's report about a company that I guess is somehow controlled by Lockheed Martin. That's interesting.
Now, what we think they do is they pay these gang stalkers, the perps, with gift cards. When you use a gift card, you don't have to use an ID. You don't have to prove who you are. So these people can buy millions and millions of dollars of gift cards, disseminate those gift cards out as payment for these people to play out these skits and these the stalking events. And nobody will ever be the wiser. They can just funnel all the money through there.
Now, this is an area I want to ask Larry about, because obviously gift cards, there's all kinds of different ways. Larry, you've told us in the past, you've been involved with a lot of operations that you're not proud of, and you've come forward to share this information to sort of exonerate yourself. But obviously, paying people to do things that are illegal, you can't write them a check, you can't do direct deposit into their bank account. It's cash back in the day. But Michael's talking about gift cards. I would suspect that that's just one of the options. I think cryptocurrency is another way that some of these type of operations are paid. Larry, can you give us some insight into that process of paying people for illegal actions? How does that usually go down?
Well, usually it would go down through some shield operation. So, for example, I might be hired officially to clean the bathroom stalls. And so then it's washed through a series. Then I'm going to give you just a simple overlay. Let's say the Lockheed Martin wanted to be the contractor for me to work on a project in Montezuma, somewhere in the world. Well, Lockheed Martin would hire a independent contractor named Company One, and Company One would hire an independent subcontractor to go around and find people to clean stalls. And then, so you've got Company One, Company Two, now you go to Company Three that actually hires me to be a janitor. And so that's how I'm paid.
Got it, got it. So they obfuscate it by running it through multiple entities. And of course, oh, we just lost Larry there. We'll get him back in a second. So Larry's describing this method of obfuscation. We've heard about that type of thing in the past, so it's multiple companies, Larry, just to obfuscate the trail, make it more difficult for anybody to know what's really going on. But so does that mean it would be a check that's paid, or it's a cash payment?
Yeah, it could be a check from the company that immediately hired me, but that check has nothing to do with Lockheed Martin. You'd never be able to make that association.
Right.
Never. Now, there were lots of times when you would go into the field. For example, let's say in cases like where I was in Nicaragua, it was not uncommon that technically I was paid by the IDF. So
Wow.
it showed that I was a contractor for the IDF, which is simply all that was is Lockheed Martin gave, the Israeli Defense Force budget, gave them money, and then that money was passed on to me.
Now, Larry, I know this is a little off of our gang stalking topic, but what did the IDF have to do with Nicaragua and Iran-Contra? I don't know that I've heard anything about that before.
It didn't. It didn't have anything to do with it. It was just another one of those layers of washing the money.
I see. So they're helping each other out by saying, hey, we'll pay these guys for you, and then sometime we'll call on you to pay somebody else for us, kind of thing.
Yes. I mean, like I say, I mean, that went on all the time.
Wow.
And especially in some of the major funding projects. Like if you're just going to be on a simple carrying a document from point A to point B, secure document, get it there, get it signed off, get back. That's the one where you just be hired out as a janitor. All right? But if you get into a dicey operation, one that requires what I guess people see on television, I would imagine the little fear and the intrigue and etc. That's one where the money and the whole organizational costs go up. And so sometimes it's best to just wash our hands of it entirely here in America so that they can't blame us, if anything went wrong. So you just wash yourself over and over and over, just constantly washing the money. And companies like Lockheed Martin and Boeing and all these others, they're all involved in the research arm of the military, and that's where they've got a lot of their stuff being covered, you see.
That's what I've heard too, is it gets covered in the name of science, and the national security letter, and the threat of going to prison if you violate that national security letter and divulge any of the information, and also the threat of having all of the money that you made taken back. So these people don't want to lose their money. They don't want to go to jail for 10 years. They want to keep making their income.
And at our level, remember, it's not uncommon at our level that, say, out of the defense budget, so much money goes to this type of research.
Right.
So you could have an operation that they'll just, hey, we got a little extra money in this kitty over here, so why don't we use it, even though it's not related in any way at all.
Yeah, that seems to be common, Larry. Charles Ortel is frequently presenting spreadsheets and documents that show itemizations in the Clinton Health Access Initiative and the Clinton Foundation of all kinds of things that just don't make sense. $12 million in 1 year for travel for a charity.
That's right.
Yeah.
So are these funds potentially being diverted to covert operations like this?
Could be. Could very well. Yeah. I would doubt it as far as the Clintons are concerned. Most of theirs were just converting and diverting funds just to hit their pockets. There wasn't much. You just have to understand, Jason and Michael, that the Clintons, through the foundation, it was just a constant money-making, money-laundering operation for them. Not for anybody else, for them.
I just saw a really interesting diagram yesterday showing that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, wow. So Larry, you haven't really gone in depth before, and you were unfamiliar with Michael's case. So it's hard for us to really know why Michael has been targeted, but I do find it interesting that his father worked at Lockheed Martin, and John Benet Ramsey's father worked at Lockheed Martin. When I was speaking with Dr. Horton, she told me that sometimes what's happening is they're actually implanting technology in people's bodies that is more effective when it's put into a young child, so their body grows around it, and they're tracking people with this kind of stuff. Michael, what can you tell us about that? Is targeted justice the place to see that sort of information?
The first place when people ask about RFID chips, I tell them to look up actually Jesse Beltran. He was a Sacramento firefighter, and he's got a really good video. He's actually done some research, not some research, an amazing amount of research on this with Dr. John Hall, figuring out some statistics on people that they will scan them for the chips, find out where the chip is, and then through some questioning, they'll figure out how they received their chips. Some of the people got them through flu shots, through non-consensual,
Whoa.
non-consensually. Some of them through elective surgeries.
Now,
And-
he's
and
a
it-
firefighter, too.
he
You were a
was. He's-
firefighter.
Yes, sir. Yeah, yeah.
So why are they going after firefighters and people who are the children of Lockheed Martin employees?
There are patterns like that go on and on and on. We can keep going on with.
Is this a beta test for implanting
I believe it
technology
is.
into every person so they can track every person?
I've said that over and over. I believe this is a beta test to roll this out to the rest of the world, and that's when it starts to sound like some movie. But it's not. There are millions of people complaining about this. They've been scanned for them. There are people that are experts in scanning these chips now. There have been patents that they've shown for the chip by IBM. IBM was the first company to create these chips, actually.
What's the IBM patent? How can we find
Oh,
that?
geez, that is actually in the Richard Kane case files.
Wow.
It's like a 90-something page case file I've read on some YouTube videos. He sued the federal government for implanting him on both of his children, proved that they implanted both of the children, and that they were showing that these kids were having false medical evaluations because of these chips. They were saying, I've got earaches, I've got headaches, I've got itchy skin, and it was because of these RFID chips, not because of something organic that happened in their life.
Well, we have heard, of course, that there's plans to put microchips into people, and we've heard that people in the military have been involuntarily implanted with chips. Larry, did you ever hear any discussions about that with any of the operators that you dealt with, or any of the operations, military people having chips implanted in them?
No, but you have to understand, Jason, my time and tenure doing actual field work was 35 years ago.
Right.
And that technology would have been literally at its research level. So
Right.
no, I never had any experience with it, or to my knowledge, no one around me was involved in it. I will say this, it was one of those spooky things they talked about. I mean, it was
Really?
talked about, but there was no serious level of implementation that I ever saw.
The last story that I listened to was Cody Snodgrass.
Yeah.
Do you know who Cody is?
Oh, yeah.
He explained that Timothy McVeigh was one of the first people implanted. He said that Timothy McVeigh was implanted in his buttocks.
Wow.
and that's how they were keeping track of it. And they were using that for tracking soldiers over in Iraq. If there was a sandstorm and you can't see with the satellite, you can see with the RFID chip at all times where all of your soldiers are. And that was what it was developed for. And Cody talks about it on a pretty recent video, actually, too.
Wow. It's interesting. Cody, if you're not familiar with him, Larry, talks a lot about the Oklahoma City bombing. And, of course, Timothy McVeigh is the guy who was sentenced to death for doing that bombing. One of the interesting things that Cody told me about, or actually told everybody about in an interview, was that Murrah building that was destroyed in Oklahoma City apparently housed medical records for Iraq war veterans who had been given this newly developed anthrax shot. And what Cody says is that the reason they did it is that the United States had given Saddam Hussein weaponized anthrax years prior, sometime in the 80s, and they knew that he had it, and they were fearful that he might use it against U.S. soldiers. And the issue was the anthrax vaccine required 6 shots, 1 per month, over the course of 6 months. And they had this new shot that they were going to give them, which is 1 shot and you go. And perhaps this is what the soldiers were told that Cody reveals to us, but maybe that's not even true.
You had to get that before you deployed. You had to get that. Now, I didn't get that when I went to the United Arab Emirates, but if you were going to Iraq or Afghanistan, you had to get that. And there were people that did their research in the military. And I know a pilot that quit his career because he refused to get that shot.
Larry, have you heard anything from military veterans about shots like this, mandatory inoculations in the Iraq war? Yeah, let's hear about that.
Yeah, you always had a go pack that you had to get before you went to certain countries, certain projects. Yes.
To be serviceable, yep.
That was that.
That's interesting.
Now,
So,
what was in the shots, I can only guess. They'd say it's about some fungal disease. It's, does this. Most of the time they were talking about it was, like the rusty nail type stuff to prevent
Tetanus.
that.
Yeah.
Tetanus, but
But there's a long
I don't.
history of testing technology on military personnel, right?
Yes,
Hmm.
yeah, absolutely. Military personnel, mental patients, prisoners,
Right.
disenfranchised people in general.
Now, the prison medical stuff is something, Larry, that the Clintons definitely got involved in. That blood scandal in Arkansas.
Yep.
You and I haven't spoken about that too
No,
much. Let's talk about that for a
sure,
second. I
yeah, I
know
haven't
it's
heard
not
about that.
necessarily a targeted individuals topic, but all this medical stuff that they're doing, it seems kind of related.
A lot of it's so related. And if we're talking about the Clintons, I'll be there all day. Let's go. Let's talk
Yeah.
about
Well,
them. I'm not a fan, not a fan.
Jason, when I went to work at the Arkansas Development Finance Authority, or ADFA, when I went to work there, the deal had already been struck, and I think we were down to like the last, oh goodness, I would think the last two payments. And so here again, and Jason, you guys, you're just talking about that whole world of that stuff could be going on around you, and you would have nothing that you know about. I mean,
Right.
all you're really told is you're just getting a series of inoculations going into XYZ country.
Right.
I mean, and everything could be happening. Anything could have happened. But going back and tying it to the core, tying it to targeted individuals, and to be honest, Michael, you're just one of the first, that I've ever even heard of.
There, you would, Larry, you would be amazed how many people there are out there. And I actually, I've done thousands of hours of research on this and listen to other people's research that are much smarter than I am. And there's a possibility that there are 3 million targeted individuals just in the United States. And this is a worldwide thing. So, say I'm wrong, or we are wrong, because that's not just my calculation. Say there's 1.5 million targeted individuals. They're making $3 to $4 million per target. This is a huge, huge racket.
How are they making 3 to 4 million per target?
We should have pulled up that. Look up Ken Peartree. Oh man, don't have that document. Ken Peartree was a senior master sergeant in the Air Force, and he's been targeted as long as he can remember. Also, he came up. He was a petroleum oil liquids management specialist. He worked on multi-million-dollar accounting jobs. And he came up with this spreadsheet, and he showed if the person was a GS level employee, a government salary employee, how much they would make, what their position as a stalker, as a surveillance agent would be, and put all this different stuff together. And for 1 to 2 targeted individuals a year, he came up with 3.5 to $4 million a year.
Wow.
It's Ken Peartree. Yeah.
Ken. Oh, sorry. I was putting in Kim.
K-E-N Peartree. Yes.
Okay. So see, this is interesting because we've got all this, all these things crossing over. So there's a lot of people who are in the Air Force. When you started coming on my show, Michael, we saw somebody in the Air Force get very upset about it and start publishing videos on YouTube and interfering in your criminal case.
There's the people that know, there's people in the military that know they're easy to put into this program because they have, a lot of them already have a top secret clearance. So they can go, hey, you already have a top secret clearance. We don't need to go through the whole standard Form 89 or whatever it is, go through and go interview your 6th grade teachers. You already have this clearance.
Right.
We can put you into this. And I don't think they're told the entire thing. They're just told a small part of it.
Well, it's always
Yeah.
a compartmentalized operation.
thing, yeah.
That's standard operating procedure, right?
Yes. Oh, sorry. You
Yeah.
asked me, Larry.
Larry? Yeah.
Most definitely.
Larry, did you interact with the Air Force very much in your career?
Well, you mean working little field projects? No. Most of that was always done through 2 different transport companies. One was Flying Tigers out of New Orleans, and the other was Southern Air out of Florida.
And what are those? Those are like CIA cutout companies or something?
Yeah, they're just transport companies, just kind of like you got UPS, you got that level, and then under that you got Joe's truck stop, and they happen to be a checkout point to send stuff through UPS. So
Got it.
Southern Air and Flying Tigers were simply just independent cargo companies. That's what they did, and they would fly stuff in and around the Americas. I mean, that's where their field of operation was.
Got
And
it.
it was just, which one had an opening. Whether you got on there, you had to go to the other one.
Back on ADFA for just a moment, when I look at some of the language on their current website, it's talking about ADFA programs. It says the purpose of our programs is to promote economic growth in the state of Arkansas. ADFA provides and supports financing and affordable housing, agricultural business enterprises, industrial and economic development, capital improvement for state agencies and local governments, higher education funding and related programs. Larry, this reads almost exactly like the documentation and promotional materials for the Clinton Foundation.
Yes, yes,
It's vague.
and it works just like it. I mean, this is what I'm telling you, Jason, about that system from Arkansas.
Yeah.
It's everywhere, buddy. It's everywhere, just into the way they set up the foundation. The foundation is set up exactly like, and I'm tickled. I mean, actually, I'm blown away. You're the only person that has made that connection. I've been sitting back, saying, surely somebody's got to see this. It's got to be that vivid.
So it's
But nobody
essentially
has
the same
until
thing.
today. So.
The Clinton Foundation is sort of an expanded version of ADFA. So did Bill Clinton come up with this, or did someone come to him and say, hey, you're going to do this?
My gosh, I couldn't tell you because it was actually being worked when I got there. So I mean, it wasn't like something invented for me or for the agency at that time. It was just there when I got there. But it's all the same. It's just we used to joke about it, calling it a musical round. A musical round is where I start out singing "Row, row, row your boat," and then Mike,
Right.
you come in when I say boat, you start row, and then Jason, when Mike hits row, you go boat.
Hey, we should go have a beer sometime and try that, buddy.
But the question is, that ADFA was really pivotal in paying some of the companies that were servicing the aircraft and operating the aircraft that Barry Seal and everybody was running out of Mina. So it's important to understand that.
It didn't just do that. Webb Hubbell's father-in-law, Seth Ward, had a company that was called Parkometer.
Oh,
so
right.
obviously your thought was that it made parkometers. Well, it didn't. It made buttstock assemblies for the M16 of the day.
Right. But without serial numbers, right?
Yes. So, yeah, it was a complete operation, and all of the loans that I saw go out during my short tenure, because I didn't stay there long. It didn't take me long when I got a hold of the books till I realized I had to get out of there.
What made you realize that?
Huh?
When did you realize that you need to go there?
When I found that they were laundering $100 million a month of drug money coming into Mina through Dan Lassiter's brokerage firm. Lassiter was Bill Clinton's best friend at the time, buddy. If anything got caught or exposed, you knew the rules. The rules was that I would be the one that would fall on my bayonet. You always took it for the boss. It never got above you. So I knew if that thing ever was exposed, and it was really scary because I knew he was going to run for the presidency, right?
Wow.
So when he started running for president, I thought they would surely stumble into this. So I had to get out of there, and that's when I went to Bill and said, look, hey, my daughter and his daughter, Chelsea, they were the same age, actually visited each other, etc. And if one of them had gotten hooked on that cocaine, I couldn't have lived with myself. So I told him, you got 2 weeks to tell the truth about it, or I will.
Wow.
And that's when our feud started that day.
So he just
And,
didn't like any kind of pushback.
No. And let me tell you, I thought about this the other day, Jason. Michael, do y'all realize there was a time when all Bill Clinton would have had to have done, all he had to do was just go public and say that I was forced to resign and that I was innocent of any wrongdoing, that it was just a mistake. That's all he had to do, just basically say he was sorry to me and to my family. Actually, I said to my family, don't even say it to me, say it to my family. Had he have done that, had he have said, okay, and made a public apology so my family was not humiliated, you realize I wouldn't have brought out any of the stuff that came out against Bill or Hillary. Think about what their careers would have been without me out there dogging them. Isn't that incredible?
All you wanted was an apology, and you deserved one. There's so many people. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. So the point I'm getting at is, the ADFA, which still operates today, I suppose it must do some legitimate business in the interest of developing, business or whatever in Arkansas, but it's just basically a giant operation for funding whatever kind of criminal activity, whatever kind of companies, whatever kind of research they wanted. It certainly stands to reason that the Clinton Foundation or anything like it could fund these type of programs. And I mean, look, Larry, you're sitting there talking to us on a phone with a video screen on it. We've got two-way communication. I mean, when you were coming up in your career, that's like Dick Tracy type stuff, Star Trek or something. Right. So chips in the body doesn't seem that crazy, right?
No, not at all. I mean, I'm telling you, it was what we're seeing today, just 30 years ago, would have been just beyond the possibility of reality. It's okay, we're going to do a little science fiction trip here and we go off talking about this kind of stuff.
Right.
So who knows what tomorrow brings? Who knows?
Well, now, Richard Lighthouse.
But tying it back to Michael, buddy, what I propose we do, if I guess we can talk about it, can't we, Jason?
Sure. Talk about anything.
Yeah.
Your case has the potential of so much intrigue. There is something definitely spooky about your case.
Thank you.
So what I would hope to be able to help you with or try, because of the people that I know and the contacts I've made over the years, get you in front of, I know you're broke, I know you're busted, get you in front of a famous attorney that is looking for a pro bono case that could give them the kind of notoriety, put them back on top again, make them relevant.
Oh, this is one of the biggest things in a long time. If they wanted to be famous for cracking this one, it's...
But some of the detail of your case that I would imagine they would want to know, I don't need to be on the phone with, and certainly the whole broadcast team.
But you do raise a good point, Larry, because there's going to be a lot of people joining us right now. Crowdsource the Truth is growing our viewership constantly, and there's a lot of people who I think like to watch you, Larry, who maybe haven't seen Michael before. So I just want to go over this a little bit. We're talking about chips in the body and people following people and all that kind of thing. I think most people find it a little bit outlandish, and frankly, it's put together specifically to appear that way. But there's elements of Michael's case that are sort of irrefutable. He's got video of this guy on the highway sticking a gun out the window of his car, pointing it at him, and Michael immediately turned his car around, came home. He
didn't point it at me. I would have loved if he did that, because I would have pressed her.
Sticking out the window.
Out the window, but the barrel never aimed at me. He held it out the window and branched it, so I just wanted to clarify that. He didn't point.
He was just showing it to you.
He held it out the window. Yes. So
I see.
Yeah, I just want to clarify that part.
But if you're on the highway and someone sticks a gun out the window that you've been having an argument with, that's pretty close to pointing a gun at you.
Then they follow you to your house. Yeah, that's where it got
Right.
Yeah.
So this guy followed Michael to his house. The cops came, and the cops basically charged Michael with brandishing a firearm.
No, they charged me with aggravated assault with a firearm. They
Who
said
did
that
you assault?
No one.
Right.
Unless, well, I can't cuss on your show. I cussed at the guy. If that's assault,
I don't think cursing at somebody is assault. But what we're getting at, Larry, is we see so many cases now. You know, we've been talking about Dr. Corsi and Robert Mueller and just, you know, everything that's going on with Donald Trump and Maxine Waters wanting to investigate money laundering and wanting to investigate his underwear drawer and whatever she can investigate to try to find something. But we're in this sort of definitely post-constitutional, it's even like post-sensible America where you can just be charged with absolutely anything. And then in Michael's case, he gets into court and he's got a lawyer who tells him, well, take this plea deal, become a felon. We don't really know what's happening on the other side of that plea deal. Once he's got that stamp of being a felon, what do you anticipate would be the next step? If Michael were someone that you were targeting on behalf of the Clintons, once you got him stamped as a felon, what would be the next step, Larry?
Well, once he's stamped, they'd be sending him off to prison, and he'll never come out of prison. Accidents happen in prison.
That's exactly what I said. If I go to prison, I'm never coming out.
Ask Jim McDougal, and I don't say this to scare you, Michael. I'm saying it because
hey, I'm a realist.
I went through it with Jim McDougal.
I processed this information already in making my decision. You know that they call that going out the back door.
Now, so Jim McDougal, he was just the husband of somebody Bill Clinton was having an affair with or something? What was the story with Jim McDougal?
Jim McDougal had well, he was the one that put the whole Whitewater deal together.
Oh.
He was kind of these flashy kind of guys, and he put all this together. And then it just so happened that his wife, Susan, was the one that Bill Clinton was having fun with during the time.
Right.
And so while he was working and helping Bill with Whitewater and helping Hillary, helping them make money and introducing them to Red Bone and guys where they could take $1,000 and put it into the cattle futures and a month later make $100,000 off of it.
Right.
You know, that's what he did. And so then when everything went south, he obviously had to take, quote unquote, one of the plea deals, Michael's. And in his plea deal, you know, you just have to go to the Holiday Hotel for, 18 months to 24 months. But he didn't come out.
Yeah.
Died of a heart attack at the Federal Correction Facility in Fort Worth, Texas at 57.
Imagine that.
Was he a healthy guy, Larry? Did you find it surprising that he died of a heart attack?
Well, no, especially when he had requested over. He was screaming for him for 2 days to give him his heart medicine, and they refused to give it to him.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Not that they don't have a way to do that. They could easily, but yeah, that's.
Wow. So, and then
So
also,
what you have to watch out about, and I'm not, this is terrible to say because Michael, I don't want to scare you or anything, but what you have to worry about is once, they say, well, shoot, don't worry, they're going to take this plea deal and yeah, you're a felon, but you get out with 6-8 months in jail, right? Actual jail time. Problem is if you go there, that may be the last 6-8 months you have on Earth.
Exactly. Exactly. And
if you're not on heart medication, they could just have somebody shank you the first night you're in there.
Well, I know they have perps in there because the one night that I did spend in there were 4 or 5 different people that I identified as perpetrators.
So, Larry, just to get you up to speed with the terminology, the perps are the guys that are stalking Michael in the streets and everything.
And the other targeted individuals, yeah.
Right. And the other targeted individuals, right. We saw a few orange jumpsuit, people who were incarcerated in court when Michael went to appear before the judge. Larry, do you have any firsthand information as far as when someone is in jail, is there a process of approaching them and indoctrinating them into these programs to get them to sort of work for the dark side?
Yeah, I mean, you got to remember back in that day, you were that kind of stuff was done well above my pay grade. So right. I wasn't involved, but later on, as it turned out in orientation acclimation with senators and congressmen, freshman senators and freshman congressmen in Washington there, you're approached rather quickly. I mean, they're on you right out of the chutes that they explain that everything is connected to money. And you have to dance to the tune of the major corporations if you want to have the money to be able to run a campaign your next time. I
So
mean,
somebody like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez being 29 and getting in there, it almost seems to defy the
Logic.
the logic of the system. How could a 29-year-old, she's just Alex from the Bronx. How does she get into Congress?
well, I believe, my opinion, the way she got elected in the first place is she actually owes her election to Donald Trump. This election in 2016, the one that they just had, 2018, it was fairly well an announcement that, hey, we're sick of the status quo
Right.
and we want something else. And then at the congressional level, it's the only national office that you can actually run for where you could just gumshoe it. You could just not have money and just start out and talk to everybody in your district and win their vote personally. So I think she just lucked out and got in. Now, what they'll use her for, she'll be cut from the pack. She will not be one of the good old boys. She'll never be accepted into the league or the club. But they'll let her go out with these wild, crazy allegations. And then that way it'll hold the party as such harmless. It's just her. She's just crazy and everybody knows it, but she's actually doing their bidding for them.
And then they'll find a way to slowly filter her out with stuff, which is fine. I don't feel like paying 70% in taxes, so.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, this is big league stuff. If, Jason, if I were you, since you're there with him, I wouldn't be surprised if it's as obvious as what it appears to be. You're liable to be on the list to be looked at yourself.
Actually,
I mean, have you experienced anything since you've been there?
Jason hasn't noticed a couple of things that both Dr. Catherine Horton and I noticed in a couple of his videos that happen repetitiously with both of us. People surveilling, aiming cameras at him, stepping out of I didn't even tell you about this earlier, Jason. It was the guy that stepped away from a red truck. He turned right as you walked by, aimed your camera at you exactly like they've done to me for the last couple. Absolutely. After we're done with this, let's go to the video and I'll show it to you.
We'll take a look at that once we wrap up.
Look like standard operating procedure to me.
Well, it's interesting, Larry. The targeting of me, I think, has been a bit more obvious. It's been lawsuits from our friend Robert David Steele. It's been lawsuits from David Swigert. I mean, I find what David Swigert is doing extremely overt and also interesting that we've got this Air Force connection.
Wasn't he originally from Fresno?
Maybe, yes.
I think you said he was from Fresno. That's where the 144th Fighter Wing is, where I'm from. Fresno and Clovis are connected. That's where.
And you also mentioned earlier today that you lived in Fort Meade at some point.
Yeah, twice. I went there for multimedia journalist school, and that school actually you can basically see the NSA.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
From my
Fort
school.
Meade is the NSA.
And I used to joke around. I could hear my phone clicking when I was there. I'd be talking on the phone to my girlfriend. I said, the phone's clicking. I said, they're just all the trainees over here at the NSA are practicing on us.
Wow.
As a joke. And I said, they probably spy on us in our rooms too. Well, now, fast forward to now, I probably wasn't telling a joke. I was probably speaking the truth. Who knows?
Larry, did the NSA come into your sphere of Arkansas stuff at all while you were at the Clintons?
Oh, yeah. When Bill Clinton took over as president, one thing people didn't realize, there was a short period of time where Webb Hubbell and Vince Foster both were titled positions, I don't remember what they were, to the NSA.
Wow.
And this was during the process when they were using the Project Echelon. They actually oversaw Project Echelon through the NSA, those two characters.
Project Echelon, I've heard of that.
So, wow.
Project Echelon.
Right.
In that day, it was the most sophisticated way to monitor 2 million phone calls every minute.
And of course, we've heard about Robert Mueller and his involvement with this thing, the Hammer, which is some kind of super. What's going on? Okay, sure. So this Hammer is some kind of supercomputer, Larry, for processing, massive amounts of information. It's one thing to collect data on millions of people in the United States. You want to be able to. Wait a minute, Michael. Okay, Michael's got to take a bathroom break there. I didn't understand what he was doing, but we don't want that to go over the broadcast.
Yeah.
So the NSA is gathering all this information, but obviously they need a way to be able to process it. So there's an immense amount of computing processing power that's needed. And of course, as you described, Larry, what happens with computers now and information compared to 30 years ago, it's hard for most people to even understand what they
Right.
what they can do. So another thing that Bill Clinton is very known for is the crime bill that basically funneled tons of people into prison. And it certainly seems like Robert David Steele and David Swigert are doing everything that they can to try to make up stories to get me into prison. Am I assuming too much, Larry, to say that it seems like we've got this almost like underworld in prisons where they want to get you in there and then they can control you once you're there?
And I don't think that's a stretch at all.
Oops. Ooh, we lost Larry. All right. He'll come right back. It's, I think that the app we've got Larry using for improved audio quality, if you touch the phone, has a tendency to hang up. But this has been something I've thought about for quite a while, Michael, and part of the reason why, as your friend who's not giving you legal advice, I've told you several times that I'm concerned about this plea deal because, as Larry says, you see this
They're
guy.
going to keep going. They keep going.
Well, they stick him in jail, and then they've got you under their control once you're in jail.
Yeah.
You know what? His phone might have overheated.
Oh, that's
That
very
was
highly
happening,
likely.
so we'll
yeah.
give Larry a minute. But it's interesting to get his insights and to hear these stories that we might not be familiar with.
What? Yeah. I mean, this is coming from straight from the source. He used to be involved in this kind of stuff, and what he's explaining sounds like somebody said, "Hey, let's franchise that."
Well, it obviously always goes onward and upward,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So it grew, it evolved, and it's turned into this thing where they've farmed it out to civilians.
So
And,
talk to me some more about this Lockheed Martin company. What was the name of
it was
that?
William Patrick Cox.
William Patrick Cox. And when I put that in, William Patrick Cox and Lockheed Martin, so we've got this report here from Karen.
Lockheed Martin, DoD contractor. Let's see, that's another.
That's Facebook.
That's Facebook, okay.
Yeah.
YouTube.
So see, I think a lot of people.
There's a link there.
There's a link in this. Yeah, a
believe
lot
it.
of people
Okay.
I think become skeptical when they see things. This right here.
I believe so.
So, but these are blogs and things. I mean, the everyday concern. No acknowledgement from DURSA, Admiral, internal NSA misconduct.
Okay,
Well,
maybe it's-
we're searching around here a bit now, but here's Karen Stewart. So you're very familiar with all the people in this targeted individual community, and there's certainly a lot of research. I'm just exploring it now, and with your help, and as you and I have gotten to know each other, we've gone further down the road here.
You're
but
learning.
I think you've got an important role in this community, Michael, and you've got an important decision to make for yourself. You've got this pending hearing March 25th, where we'll either decide to accept your plea agreement, but they've told you there's no jail involved in the plea agreement.
Correct. Yes, the prosecutor is not. They did it at first. They tried to sneak it
They
in there.
could lie.
They tried to sneak it in there, and they're not requesting. The judge is not requesting. Told me that there's a 99% chance you won't get any. But I've heard this before
99.
exactly, and I said that's not a good percentage. I want to know 100% that I'm not going to prison. I'll lose my business. It'll ruin everything that I have.
Kids.
Month to month, my kids. It will destroy my life, even if I have to go in there for a couple months. It was like if I couldn't, it just wouldn't work.
And you've reminded me of something that I want to tell our viewers is that they can go to patreon.com/Michael J. Barden and they can become financial sponsors, if they think that your case is important and they want to help you out, if they enjoy watching the shows that you and I do together or the videos that you do of people who are tracking you around, the interviews that you've been doing, they can go on to Patreon there and support you. They can also go on Google and search for eBay Hats Around the World and purchase a hat. You and I also did a video in the Hats Around the World
that was
staging
fun.
area.
Yeah.
So if people want a rare hat, or if they want to support a targeted individual, or actually it's not so much about giving money to you, it's about helping to stop this type of organized harassment activity.
Exactly.
You have been, okay, we got Larry back now. Good to have you back, Larry. How
Are you back?
We're here.
Or am I back?
You are back, sir. So we were talking about the
Okay,
underground world of prison and how there seems to be a desire to funnel certain people in there so that they can be either turned into operatives or exterminated.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any firsthand knowledge of someone being converted into some kind of covert operative in prison?
No, Lord, no. If I did, I sure wouldn't be talking about it.
Right. Got it. Got
No,
it.
that's something
Okay,
Phil
I
McConnell
get on the wrong
and
list
David
of
Hawkins.
names myself at that point. No, I really don't, and that's the truth. I have
Yeah.
no direct knowledge or even indirect knowledge other than what we've discussed right here. You know, it's Michael, you're in you're in a hot seat. You truly are, and I feel for you because I've been there myself. You know, when I was walking against the Clintons in the beginning, I was alone, and it sure was nerve-wracking. I know it was scary.
Yeah, and that's one of the things they do.
It was
You
just
don't know what's coming, and they isolate.
absolutely scary.
Did they intentionally isolate you? Did slander you so you started peeling off friends and family? You're all by yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Now, this is interesting. I just Googled when did private prisons start, and it's telling us that they have a much longer history in the United States than I realized. This is an interesting little bit of trivia here, Larry. This is saying that actually San Quentin was the first private prison. I had no idea. As far back as 1852.
That is amazing. I had no
San
idea.
Quentin was the first for-profit prison in the U.S., long before it was state-owned. A resurgence of private prisons came in the wake of widespread privatization that took place during the 1980s. Do you know anything about that? I think that was a whole George Bush, Dick Cheney thing.
Here again, no. I mean, when you get to Bush and Cheney, that was after my field time.
No, I'm talking about the first Bush. The first Bush.
Oh, first Bush? No. Once again, I don't. Let's just leave it at that. I say that for obvious reasons. I hope you understand. It's facing this conversation is a little uncomfortable because we don't know just talking here whose toes we're going to accidentally step on. And if you step on the wrong toe, all of a sudden things start getting busy.
That's most likely what I was talking about, the Federal Reserve, Janet Yellen, chemtrails, 9/11 in 2005 on Facebook when I was a journalist in the Air Force. And, I was already digging in back then, and I'm pretty sure I stepped on some toes because I wasn't really tactful about it either back then. I was just gung-ho, hey, I'm in the Air Force, I'm an all-American guy, I'm going to say what I want, when I want, and I'm not going to think about how I say it, and I'm pretty sure I did step on some toes. But I was also telling some truths.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I said a couple things about the Catholic Church a couple times I'm sure they weren't happy with, and...
Well, the 9/11 stuff and the chemtrails stuff, I mean, that's, I don't know, I mean, maybe, but the Catholic Church, I don't know that they would be involved in the gang stalking. It seems like the Air Force seems to be a common theme. You were an Air Force journalist. We've got all these Air Force people who
General Hayden ran the NSA.
Right.
He scrapped Bill Binney's program, Thin Thread, to run his own. And I think that program that he scrapped Bill Binney's program for had to do with this gang stalking program, because it would make billions and billions and billions more. Because it seemed like Bill's would work really well from what I've listened to it, and for a lot less money.
Wow. Well, Larry, it's
Now,
been sorry.
Michael, did the intrigue around you, did it start 100% after your tenure in the Air Force or during your tenure in the Air Force?
When it really got weird, when things, because I had some gang stalking, some work mobbing, stuff like that. But when it really got weird, I was in a class with a guy named Chuck DeCaro. He was a former Air Force test pilot and did some secret ops, special forces kind of stuff. And then he was a CNN journalist actually for a while. And he developed something called soft war. And it was basically giving the enemy a different perception than they were actually experiencing and throwing them off that way. Kind of like this program seems to work.
Right.
So I was in that class with 2 days. I didn't make that team, didn't get on the soft war team. There were some other things we were doing too, but that was just that part of it. And right after that, stuff got weird. A good relationship I had, the girl just left, and then another one showed up that was really pretty. It didn't make too much sense, like, hey, what's this girl coming after me? And then it went haywire from there, but it was covert. I knew something was off, but I couldn't put my finger on it, and I didn't want to sound crazy. And then it went overt in April of 2017, and then that's when I call it the wave. They call it the wave. That's really hit, and they came at me with everything that they had, other than just straight up killing me.
Well, I think the reason they use this program rather than killing you is that they can't kill everybody.
No, it'd be too
and
obvious.
if they make you seem ridiculous, it discredits all your reporting. Like if you do all this reporting on 9/11 and chemtrails, and then you die at age 40, people start to raise their eyebrows.
Yeah.
But if they can discredit your work and make everybody think you're a nut, then the work goes away.
Exactly. And that,
Jason.
Yeah.
Michael, Jason, this comes straight out of the playbook again, which was a little play we called Kill Them While They're Young. Now, no, did not mean go bang, bang, shoot somebody. But if there was somebody that had information on Bill Clinton, like if it was the farmer and his daughter had been attacked by Bill, and the farmer was mad and fixing to go public, then we would be sick on him. And it would be our job to convince him the best thing he needed to do is keep his mouth shut and make it go away. Because if he didn't, we did the Kavanaugh trick. Go out and find something. If there wasn't anything, make it up.
Slander campaign.
And you destroy their name. You destroy their character. You destroy everything about it.
He's explaining.
He's living. He ain't living. You know that one, Michael, for yourself.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Well, Larry, it's amazing insight that you're giving us here. We're just about out of time, so I want to remind our viewers that every Tuesday, usually at 3 p.m. Eastern, Larry joins me for a regular show where he shares his insights and stories like this from his years with the Clintons. You can visit Larry's website at nicholslive.com. He's got his blog posts up there, links to the videos that we do together, scripts that you can use to call your local representatives and share this information and your feelings about it. He includes the phone numbers for many of the representatives along with the scripts. And of course, you can support Larry financially by clicking on the donate button. You're going to want to go to paypal.com and use Larry's email address, which is nicholslive@aol.com. Thousands of people enjoy the shows that we do with Larry and his insights, his unique analysis, his totally deadpan, straight man humor. And if you're watching the shows, you really should be supporting Larry. I also want to remind people that they can support Michael Barden by going to to patreon.com/Michael J. Barden. You can become a monthly sponsor of Michael's Patreon page. You can also see him on YouTube. He's got the Barred In Report. And hopefully he will remain not barred in. I don't know if we shared this with you, Larry, but Michael right now, he's under ankle bracelet arrest. I don't know.
Not arrest. I can leave. I can go anywhere I want. I don't have any.
What is that called when you have the ankle bracelet?
Monitoring. Ankle bracelet monitoring.
So he's really being tracked. They don't even need to implant a chip on him. They got
Nope.
it strapped on his leg.
Yeah, and if I go in the wrong place, it tells me violation, get out. And, sometimes I think they like to mess with it a little bit, and they had to set that off when I'm about to walk in my front door, and it says,
Wow.
leave now. So,
Absolutely crazy.
Well, and I don't need to tell you that they're free to doctor the books anytime they want, so they can make it look as though you went outside of your area, even though you didn't, just for the purpose of having something to
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprised at all.
Actually.
Yep.
Yeah, getting you under their control seems to be the play. Larry, thanks for joining
remember
us tonight.
leverage.
Oh, yeah,
Buddy.
leverage, right. Exactly.
I just wanted to tell you, Larry, thank you so much for letting me do this interview with you. I don't feel like I'm on the same level here. I feel like I'm a normal guy talking to all these amazingly smart people with all this insight. And, not just me, but there's a lot of people out there that are really, really happy with you doing this show right now. And I'm just going to go ahead and tell you thank you from them, too, because I know they're thinking it. So thanks a lot, Larry.
Yeah, we appreciate it, Larry. All right. Well,
You
thanks for
bet.
joining us. Yep. We got a little delay going there. Sorry about that. Larry, listen, have a great evening, and thank you for joining us tonight. I'll speak to you next Tuesday, and thanks, everybody, for watching.
Yes, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Didn't mean to step on you there, buddy. See you next Tuesday.
See you Tuesday. Take care, everybody. Thanks for watching.